Once again, on the site of a very fascinating structure made of bricks and a lot of history contained. I'm inside the Mare Island Museum in Vallejo, and there's some fantastic bronze bells that are here on display. A very large bell made of bronze. Beautiful bells. I doubt if I'll get permission to ring them loudly like at the Dixon Museum. But with us today is a gentleman that's been involved with the Vallejo Museum for quite a long time, Bob, and I appreciate the invitation and welcoming here. Maybe you could tell us a little bit about the types of things we could expect to see in your museum.
Well, all the ships that were built were here. There was something on them, and then there's a lot of pictures of the ships being built.
Yes.
We had a hammer roll here, which indicated each ship that was launched here. But unfortunately, it's been taken down.
Right.
And
I understand there's a significant history of submarine construction here.
Yes.
And a lot of amazing ironworks that are able to shape and create beautiful ships and move them all about the property. So it's incredible. There's a lot of machinery here. Is there any machinery exhibits in the museum that we might see?
There's a machine shop.
Well, I think we've only got a few minutes to do this tour, and I think we better get on our way. Bob, thank you.
Okay.
We have some hammers that are commemorative of launching of many of the ships at Mare Island. Are these some cataloged records of some of the specific ships that were here?
Thing, and these are all the ships that.
Do you have any information about the USS Corey, which is currently in the Napa River, a number of miles from here, up near Napa's Glass Beach?
Not right off the top of my head.
So you're familiar with the ship, I imagine?
Yeah.
So it's a 314-foot-long battleship that's been abandoned for 80 years? 80 years-ish?
Probably. They put it up there as a erosion control.
It's quite an interesting place, and a lot of people like to kayak out there. And but it's very unknown to many of the inhabitants of Napa. So we have got some models.
Received the information from Pearl Harbor.
Are these replicas, or they may, in some cases, these could be the actual radios that were used? Very good. And I see you've got a dive suit exhibit. Is this a reproduction, or is this an authentic suit?
It's a real thing.
Very good. And where might have this been used?
Probably around here on the ships that, when they were tied up at the dock and needed to do hull work or something, they would go underneath there with these.
It looks like there's a manual air pump to provide breathing for the diver.
Yeah, they would probably, with this, they would probably use something else. I donated that.
Uh-huh.
A friend of mine had it, and that's probably for some
So what can you tell us about the Swift boat? The PT?
It's what they call a river patrol boat, PBR.
Uh-huh.
And I was actually with the unit on the other end of the yard. Special boat for 11.
And I understand that there may have been some practice use of these boats in some of the marshlands and river inlets in the Napa River up near Buckley Station.
Well, we trained in the Napa River.
Yes.
And we mainly trained up in Montezuma Slough by Sassoon.
Yes.
Sassoon Slough, Montezuma Slough, that was the main training grounds. And that's where they trained the crews to when they were going to Vietnam.
I'd heard about that. Did you know that some of the footage from a movie was shot? I think it was the movie Apocalypse Now.
Yeah.
And there was some simulated footage in the Napa River. A lot of people don't know that. What can you tell us about the age of the boat and maybe some of the information about it? You're very familiar with the boat, I imagine.
Yeah, I run it for a few years. I was with the boat unit for 17 years. So it's a river patrol boat. It's made out of fiberglass. It has twin 6B53 Detroit diesels. We're running jacuzzi pumps. It was water jet.
These are similar, except obviously much smaller, to the propulsion system that's on the Vallejo ferry system, as they have
very similar.
They have twin diesels, and I know that they use these for reversing and for steering tightly.
Yeah.
Probably very reliable equipment.
Yeah, this will move back and forth, and this goes.
Right.
So that's for going forward, and that's for going reverse.
And I imagine you can toggle them separately for a very quick U-turn if you want to.
These boats will turn 180 degrees in their own boat length at full speed.
Very nice. So has this boat been in the Napa River up for training?
Yeah.
Are you an operator?
I was the operator on one of them. I'm not necessarily this one.
Yeah.
Because we had a few of them.
And they're very fast, aren't they?
Yes, there's what a young-looking sailor looks like.
Ah, yes. Quite a bit of memorabilia that's still here. I know you're closing, in the process of closing the museum. Will there be a relocation of the exhibits?
We don't know yet.
Any prospective locations that can be promoted?
Not none right now.
Okay.
We won't know for a couple of years.
Right.
You can go on the other side. There's a ladder you can look.
Oh, very good. River rat. Very nice. Wow.
It kind of represents the control room on this ship.
Yeah, that's very good. And so in the parking lot nearby, the remaining console and sail portion is on display and it can be examined. But I understand this is the actual equipment from the Mariano Vallejo, and it's apparently okay to go in. Do we have any better light?
I don't know how to turn the lights on.
I came prepared today. I've got a little LED. So what's the age of the ship, Bob?
I think it was launched before I went to work here, so that would have probably been about 65, 67 is when it was commissioned.
So this is where I'd be driving. If I was, how much naval experience would I need before I could climb behind the console here?
Oh, you got to go to all kinds of school.
This is wild. So we've got the inclination meters of some sort. It looks like 20% dive is about as bold as anybody would ever go for, wouldn't it? It's pretty extreme. So what do some of these controls do?
Well, this is all the ballast control stations, or ballast, or this is the fire control station for all the missile tubes, because it was a missile boat. And then over there is the ballast control station.
And then here at the, would you call this the periscope deck?
Yeah.
And then what's the periscope depth on this ship?
And normally there's 2 periscopes on this particular type of ship. And so we've only put...
Is this okay to go up?
Yes, go ahead.
All right.
You can look through the periscope, see the big town of Vallejo, and if I push a button, maybe I could blow it up.
That's amazing. I wonder if I don't know that this will come through at all. But I can see across the... You see across the Napa River, clearly. Wonderful. And how high is the periscope poking out of the top of the building?
About 10 feet.
Right.
And there's another one of the periscopes over there, laying on the floor.
Let's go get a look at that. So we're taking a look at the exhibits inside the Mare Island Museum. And here's a replica of one of the launch areas near the dry dock, possibly including the dry dock. And Bob, you're telling me that these are some these are periscopes from
Vallejo, and this particular ship had 3 periscopes. One for navigation, one for, I guess, just peeking out, and one for the fire control.
I see. And when they are fully extended, what would be the depth of the ship and the...
15 feet above the sail.
I see. Yes.
This is a representation of the nuclear storage.
What is this?
That's the bow piece off the, I forget what this ship was.
It looks like a very old ship. This may have been a sail ship.
I forget the name of it. I can't see it anymore.
Looks like it says USS Independence.
Okay, yeah. And they used it as a
1837 activities.
as an office buildings, you know, for years after it was done doing its thing at sea.
Constructed in 1812, it tells us.
Yeah.
That's quite a ways ago.
So actually, that was like the, you know, for the admiral and the captain that run the shipyard.
It looks like we have a cross-section of a large propeller.
Yeah, that's a mold.
Uh-huh.
Where, you know, they only had to do 1/3 of it, then they could turn around to the other third and so on.
So this was a mold
Yeah.
to make them.
Yeah. I'm lost in word for that.
They might call it a buck. They might call it a buck. And this is a torpedo.
Yeah.
And it looks like it's, is it a replica?
No, it's a real thing.
It kind of has the appearance of wood.
Well, it's a kind of a fiber.
Very lightweight.
Yeah, this is more of a sound type thing than an exploding torpedo.
I see. And what was the propulsion system on a unit like this?
Batteries.
Yeah. So inside the museum at Mare Island in Vallejo, and we're looking at one of the interior walls inside this large warehouse, but it turns out this is actually the original building, and then the larger building was sort of built around it. So we've got some interesting spaces. Looks like there's a blocked up doorway with about a 12-foot tall header right here to my left. What's beyond in this corridor?
That used to be, originally it was the bathroom and shower and washroom when you washed up.
Have you noticed this overhead here with these very large brick arches?
That's probably where they had windows.
They've all been filled in
Yeah,
and changed. They have a similar look to the ones out front.
yeah.
Here's one that's still intact with some of the air conditioning service.
They go in there and then they put in there the air conditioning, so they took it out.
So some more. That's a car similar to my first car, and it looks to be a 1963
He's gonna sell it.
a Plymouth Valiant. We've got a Plymouth Valiant convertible, and it does not have the push-button transmission. Some of the items that are going to be available for the public to buy or auction or purchase. And when might we expect to have that available?
Probably the end of October.
Okay. There was a tremendous amount of vintage equipment in here. A very fascinating constructed building. A lot of brick archwork, very high ceilings. There's evidence of some other purposes here at one time. Looks like arched openings that may have been windows. Some very strong, looks like original iron girders for the construction, possibly. We've got a very large entryway. And then this back wall, is this out to the property as you were to look upon the...
Storeroom back there.
So this doesn't go to the dry dock yet?
Yeah.
Okay. They're just all painted. So this building's 1855, is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Probably another shot of the.
So here's a corner of the building that's still visible.
That's one of the problems you can see up there in the corner.
I can see some of the corner pieces of the brick are deteriorating slightly, but it looks like the building for the most part is structurally sound, yes or no?
No.
Not, it's a dangerous building right now? And here's the, so this is the sale of the Mariano Vallejo.
Yeah.
Very good. We'll go over there shortly. Huge bells.
Yeah, I got a job for you.
So I did the almost impossible. I infiltrated this museum, which has been closed to the public for almost 2 years, and they're emptying it. possibly relocating the building. Claims of seismic instability. It's too dangerous, even though they just got done spending $2 million to install interior iron girders. But what an interesting building. I asked the hard questions off camera. You know, how did they build such a structure with such a tiny population, and where did the bricks come from? Where are the plans? Why don't you have any pictures of the construction of any brick masonry building on this base? And then I asked them, is there an underground? Is there more underneath? Just very quick no, definitely not. But all the floors are afterthoughts, and as you can see, there's it's a mud-flooded building. I've got a pretty good walkthrough video of Mare Island. I'll leave a link to that. But we've got this surface here. Don't know what this is made of. It's possible that it's been cast. It's very, very flaky limestone between the good brick. The sills have been removed of their granite and installed with super sloppy and offensive concrete. Got a detail of limestone that goes through the entire system of window arches around the entire perimeter of the building. 1855. So across the street, I don't know this one. This one's edgy. So there's underground here. You can see there's an opening. Interesting structures. So across the street here, we're on Railroad Avenue, across from the museum. There's very huge eucalyptus trees here. Very massive, and this entire grove area on this lower section, as well as above, are a series of proclaimed bomb shelters. And I don't like the feel of it. I don't like it. It's just too simple to access from the railroad, moving a lot of people in and out from these buildings. Maybe. The top is unusual. They said these are hatches. So like the people are inside the bomb shelter and everything gets blown. Apparently you pull the hatch off and you climb out. Somebody will find you. But it continues throughout the entire park, this entire center section. And some will say, probably me included, that there is a connecting network of underground tunnels that are completely underneath this entire base. There's so many ideas, so many reasons why it might be true, like that. Large amount of visible bunkers throughout the base with railroad service all over. So a little bit of time with the terrain map and Google and some of the historical searching. It's quite a fascinating place. I spoke with another gentleman, and he seems to have access to maybe some plans. He might have blueprints. He might have some blueprints. So he asked me what buildings I was interested in, and I told him that I was interested in Farragut Mansion, the current Railroad Museum, Mare Island Museum, Navy Museum. I'd like to see those prints. Also, the Powerhouse. There's an old powerhouse here. It's not small. It's weird. So that, and the dry dock. The dry dock. I'm gonna go to the dry dock right now just for a little visit over there before we before we get out of here. But Farragut Mansion is here. Octagonal bandstand. Large megalithic sized granite all over the place. Let's look at a couple more. Mare Island Naval Shipyard, Vallejo, California. This is the designated 1903 powerhouse that may have provided steam energy to the entire base. A lot of infrastructure here. Rail service. Changed and closed up doorways. Massive copper trim around the entire property. Might get the blueprints to this one. There's some unusual historical photos. I'll see if I can include one. That was a door for giants at one time, and it's been boxed in. So this is interesting to me. This is part of an obvious wall and foundation, greater foundation, brick inside, plastered over, but it's clearly brick. Door for giant. Just wanted to show some of the close-up detail of the foundation stones around the windows at Mare Island. So these appear to be granite. They appear to be cut granite. There's a lot of machine marks on all surfaces. So it may be a manufactured stone that is then cut, or it could be a quarried stone. If it's a quarried stone, granite, like this curbing, it runs up and down this little avenue, more curbing. If it is a cut stone, the nearest quarry is about 120 miles from here. And I'm seeing some interesting things in this foundation here. It looks like it's been through something bad. Really hard erosion. This is not a location for wind and rain erosion. I don't know if that was at one time the same stone, the so-called granite, that has been transformed. All of the windowsills on this side have been replaced with concrete. So very crumbly material, very loose around the entire perimeter. Little pockets of what look like granite. Doesn't make sense why that would be there. So very unusual. I keep looking around. But the noteworthy point about the granite is this dry dock that we're walking towards, which is Colossal, is made of the same granite. Same granite. And these pieces are absolutely massive. They're massive. That was the building I was in. I'm in the back side of the museum now. You can see from this side, the elevation is much more exposed. And you can actually see the old foundation. It's very crumbly on the exterior only. So with this foundation, these stones have a dressed edge, and they have an angle. They're well built. These could be a form of concrete, a geopolymer, and it could have been manufactured here, but that still presents a large problem. It eliminates the coring and cutting of massive stones and transporting them, but it doesn't eliminate the mining and processing and refining, sifting and clarifying of different sizes of aggregate for your project. So there's still an insane amount of mining involved, but these have some, I've shown this, they have some detail. The lower stone has some cut marks, decorative element, mostly underground. So to include something like that may not be the way to go. So how about this? How about the corner of this building? How about the extreme wear? What would cause that? What would cause this? This whole corner is blown away. Very good condition stone. This one appears to be a different composition than the flaky blue colored stone. And it continues. Extremely crusty. Really crusty. And then it stops. This is where the old world brick building stops. And this is temporary construction. Temporary. We're going to look at this dry dock again. And there's some great details here that I may have missed on previous visits, as always. So the foundation is about 50 feet below sea level permanently. The pump house is an old world brick octagonal construction with a copper roof. I've been inside and there's massive equipment and it goes way down there. So here's a little subterranean pocket that gives us a clue to the type of people that must have occupied this area. So the granite curbing with some patchwork, but up here is where it's more interesting. Huge granite slab sidewalk, curb. Fantastic detail on the front and top, and then underground it goes. So this is all filled in, obviously. This is not ground level when this granite was installed. Let's have a look at this dry dock. So all of the granite for this construction is said to have come from Knowles, California. The entire floor is thick, large granite slabs. 4 foot by 10 foot long, who knows? It's a 500-foot long dock, and all of the steps around the entire perimeter, all of it, is granite, fitted, very well fitted. These stones qualify as megalithic. They're too large for people to really handle, and again, this is what you get. This is what you get. So we need to use this and add some concrete stairs, because the normal stairs are not for normal sized people. A lot of things here, I don't know what's going on fully. I know what's happened recently, but I don't know what this was prior, and I don't know how people were moving massive stones 120 miles from this location prior to the railroad, prior to electricity, mule trains, lifting, fitting, cutting. Amazing. How did they do it? So as you can see, the top curbing perimeter continues on beyond the use of the dry dock. We've got this arch that's been paved over. It cuts in this way. On the other side it comes back and curves around. So at one time this was open. This was fully open, and I don't know what they were thinking, what they're doing. So wrapping up my visit to Mare Island, and I've seen something very interesting, very familiar. So you'll notice this shape on these columns, and they have this diagonal, like on all the cathedrals that we see. Same, except these ones here, they are exposed, and these are iron. These are fitted cast iron components that run vertically in every section. The base of the entire building is cut granite. A lot of granite here. I understand the owner of the brewing company is really interested in history, and I've been recommended to go talk to him. So I'm going to go over there and find out what he knows. He might have some photos of the dry dock. Another big, amazing building. So Mare Island's a great place to explore. There's no shortage of things to see, and you usually end up leaving with more questions than answers. These buildings are incredible. They're huge, and they're mud flooded. Incredible, look at this thing. Over here's another one. Big painted brick building. It's Colossal. They say that brick buildings are not safe and they don't hold up in the seismic conditions. And walking around here is just simply not true. These are all older, all survivors. There's another lie. Properly built brick building with a massive iron superstructure core is a unit. It moves as a unit. It's like a giant hollow boulder. And they don't fall down. So these are their, calling them coal sheds. And they've mostly been repurposed with all kinds of interesting businesses. There's a gym and brewery. But here's some massive concrete construction, which is, I don't think it was built this way. I think it was damaged real bad. And then they scabbed onto it. But these are thick, probably 4 foot thick wall. Huge aggregate. Seeing a lot of particles of broken brick. That's obvious. Throughout. Granite. Kind of a blacker material. You're just a big, thick pour with huge aggregate pieces. And this is that same color as another brick that I've seen. It's pretty interesting. What's this? So this is a coal shed. Coal shed wall. And the tops, where it comes in, looks like it was broken and repaired and then added onto, but really overbuilt. Virtually indestructible. So I'd like to learn a little more history about the coal sheds and then some of this concrete. I don't think I've seen concrete with aggregate this size. Really big pieces. All right, enough Mare Island for today. Met some interesting people, got some leads, heard some stories, saw some sights. Don't believe much of it, but hey, don't have to. Just don't have to. So, we'll go on another adventure soon, and please ask your questions and comment and enjoy your day.